Hey guys, so I am taking a huge risk and I'm asking for you to help partner with me. So I was just living my life as usual, kind of stagnant in my faith and not making much progress in my walk with God, when God interrupted my life in a radical way. Some random person on Instagram sent me a direct message, and usually I don't respond to people I don't know, but for whatever reason, for some reason I just did this time. He shared his beliefs with me about God and how much transformation he's seen in his life, and how he's been walking in victory from all sorts of temptations and addictions. Now, I've been a Christian all my life, and I had never experienced anything of the sort that he was talking about. So I was tempted to just write him off as some kooky loon off the internet. But as we kept talking, I couldn't deny that there was just something about his life, about his level of joy and supernatural peace that he gave off. He told me that he had discovered so much freedom in the gospel when he visited this place called Bethel Church in a small town called Redding. I had never heard of it. I looked it up and discovered that it was the same Bethel as the band Bethel Worship, whose songs I love to listen to on the radio. I started checking them out and listened to some of their sermons online, and to be completely honest, I was super skeptical at first, because it was kind of new to me and not what I had grown up hearing and not what I was used to. But after listening to several of their messages, I began to become overwhelmed with the beauty of the gospel that I had never heard before. All my life, I grew up believing that Jesus died to forgive me, but I was still a sinner with a sinful nature, and that I had to try really, really hard to resist temptation and rely on my own willpower, and that I would be in this process of sanctification basically for the rest of my life. And honestly, I thought that was the gospel message. But rather than being good news, it was more like a good noose. I was constantly failing, getting depressed. But the gospel that Bethel was portraying was entirely different. From Scripture, it blew the idea out of the water that I was still a sinner striving to become holy. They opened my eyes to the reality that Christ's grace doesn't just forgive me, but it completely transforms me into a new creation altogether. I had believed that I had to strive to become righteous, but I saw with fresh eyes that Jesus had already made me righteous. It's the difference between fighting for victory and fighting from victory. After all this revelation, addictions and temptations that I had been struggling with and that had plagued me all my life just started falling away, and I was experiencing such peace and freedom that I had never experienced before. I messaged my Instagram friend and told him that, man, I wish I could just visit Bethel in real life. Um, well, he just so happened to have an $800 travel voucher that he didn't need, and he offered it to me. He also reached out to a girl who's a current student at Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry and asked her if she would be willing to have me, a complete stranger, come visit her and go with her to her classes so I could check it out. I thought this idea was a little crazy. Who would agree to that? But she said yes. And then I asked myself, was I really going to accept an $800 travel voucher from some random dude off the internet and fly all the way from Tennessee to California to meet some random chick I've never met just to visit a church? And I found that my answer was yes. So I arrived at Bethel. And honestly, I don't have the space here or enough time to go into all the detail and describe all the crazy encounters I had with God while I was there and all the ways I felt him speaking to me. It was just apparent that there was something special about this place. And the messages that I was learning from the classes were just so beautiful that I would just break into tears at how sweet and good this gospel of freedom really was. Before I left Bethel to come back to Tennessee, I decided just to see what happens and decide to put in an application and apply to go to the school this upcoming school year, the fall of 2020. And I honestly didn't expect to get in because thousands of people from all over the world, like literally all over the world. I met people there from Egypt and Germany and China. Um, they apply. There's thousands of people, and Bethel can only accept a fraction of them. Um, but then I received my acceptance letter, and it was just confirmation to me, and I just knew for sure that God was calling me to go because it would change my life forever. Now, so here's my leap of faith. This is a very difficult time in my life for me to be leaving and just uprooting myself and relocating across the country. I literally just graduated this past May with my master's degree in nursing, and it feels like career suicide to be taking a year off from my career to to pursue a year of ministry. I had to make the difficult decision that my relationship with God was more important to me than a stable future in my career. Not only that, but I have 2 dogs who I love with all my heart and soul, and I can't leave them behind when I go. I have to bring them with me. And as you can probably imagine, housing in California is much more expensive than housing in Tennessee. And finding somewhere that is also pet friendly on top of that is even more expensive. So after months and months of looking, I finally found a place that would work, but the cheapest I could find for me and my 2 fur babies is going to cost $1,400 a month. I have to find a way to afford my cost of living while I'm there without being able to really work full time because I will be in school during the week. And I have a lot of other financial burdens, which make it difficult, including my 2 mortgages here in Tennessee. And no matter how many times I've crunched the numbers and budgeted and thought of different creative ways to save money, it's extremely apparent that the only way I'm going to be able to make it through is by a miracle. I'm choosing to go, even though I have no idea what job I'm going to get when I arrive in Reading, how I'm going to afford my rent and both my mortgages here at home, or how I'm going to find food and eat and pay for gas. But what I do know is that God has called me there for sure, and that if He has called me, that He will make a way. I know that the devil's doing everything he can to discourage me and get me to change my mind and decide to back out because he knows and I know that this is going to change my life forever. I'm asking for help in whatever amount you can to help me be able to follow where I hear the voice of God drawing me. My goal is to raise $13,000, and that will cover just my rent for the 9 months that I will be in California from this coming September to May. I'm trusting in God to help provide the rest to cover essentials like food and gas and things like that. Thank you so much for your time, for your consideration. Grace and peace to you, my friends, and I will see you later.